Congratulations if this message reaches you before July 22, because if it does, then you are still in the season of possibility. The world has not yet locked its doors to your becoming. You are standing on the trembling edge of something sacred, the choice to rise. To rise not merely in stature, not merely in earnings or in visibility, but to rise in truth, rise in conviction, rise in the deliberate act of claiming your life as your own. It is a quiet triumph to be present in your own time. It is no small miracle that you've survived this far, not only in body but in soul. To be alive is one thing. To be aware that you are alive, that is grace. So if this message touches you before that date, then take this as more than words. Take it as a summons, as a prayer cloaked in prose, as a love letter to your undelivered future. Let this be the turning dot. You see, time has never been simply hours ticking off clocks, but a great current, a river wide and wild, carrying us forward even when we pretend we're standing still. July 22nd is not a deadline, it is a threshold. It is the hush before the applause, the final inhalation before the first word of a great speech. And if you are reading or hearing these words now, you have not missed it. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. You are not too small, or too scattered, or too unsure. You are precisely who this message was meant for. You with your battered hands and your sacred doubts. You who perhaps have dared to dream but never dared to tell anyone. You who carry stories behind your eyes that ache for expression. You who have been moving through the world, like someone looking through a fogged window, knowing there is something beautiful on the other side, but not knowing how to reach it. My dear, this is how. Begin. Begin. Before it is perfect. Begin before you are ready. Begin because something in you, however quiet, is still willing to believe that change is possible. And not just change in the abstract, but change for you. Because possibility is not only for the favored, the fortunate, the pedigreed, or the photographed. It is not reserved for those with loud voices or famous names. Possibility is your birthright. Hope is your inheritance. And if July 22nd has not yet arrived, it means the soil has not yet hardened. There is still time to plant the seed. Let me speak now not only to your hopes but to your hurt, because I know it has not been easy. I know that some of you are carrying disappointment like a second skin. I know that some of you have failed, publicly, painfully, maybe even recently. And I know that some of you have succeeded in every way they told you to, and still feel empty, restless, misunderstood. There are some wounds that applause cannot heal. There are some triumphs that ring hollow when they are built on foundations that do not honor your truth. But even now, even still, you have the sacred power of choice. To turn inward, to turn toward that quiet knowing that has never left you. To return to the vision you once had for yourself, before the world told you to be realistic. Before you learned to trade joy for security, before you started calling survival success. I am not asking you to be reckless. I am not asking you to abandon responsibilities or dismantle your life on a whim. I am asking you to return to yourself. I am asking you to reorient your days around what is real, not what is expected. And that journey begins with one honest act, one courageous question. One moment of silence in which you let the still small voice inside you be heard above the noise of performance, above the clamor of fear. There is a version of you that has not yet given up. She might be tired, he might be shy, they might be trembling, but they are there, and they are listening. Perhaps this is the moment they've been waiting for. Not a grand sign, not a bolt of lightning, but these words, this quiet offering. This chance to remember that life is not measured in milestones alone, but in alignment, in joy, in the fierce clarity of living each day in fidelity to what matters most. If this message reaches you before July 22nd, you still have time to shift, to redirect the current, to say, I choose to become, because all transformation begins not with a plan but with a yes. I have seen too many people postpone their becoming for a someday that never arrives. When the kids are older, when the job is more stable, when I lose the weight, when I feel more confident, And what they do not realize is that confidence is not the prerequisite to action, it is the result of it. That joy is not the reward for sacrifice. It is the fuel, that you do not have to earn your right to thrive. You only have to claim it. So I say again, congratulations. Congratulations for still believing, even if only faintly. Congratulations for not closing the book on yourself. For still being willing to turn the page. For daring in a world that teaches you to settle, to reach. You have been told, perhaps, to be grateful, and you should be. But gratitude is not the same as complacency. You can be grateful and still want more. You can honor the journey that brought you here without pretending it is the destination. The danger is not in desire. The danger is in dormancy, in convincing yourself that comfort is the same as fulfillment. That quiet suffering is noble. That mediocrity is safety. But you were not made to shrink. You were not made to mold yourself into boxes built by someone else's fear. You were made to expand, to express, to live, not just exist, with your whole self. So ask yourself, what do I need to lay down before July 22nd? What burden am I carrying that is not mine? What dream have I buried because someone once laughed when I spoke it aloud? What truth have I silenced in the name of harmony? What joy have I postponed until the right time, the right body, the right income, the right partner? The time is now. The body you have now. The wisdom you have now. The hunger you have now. That is enough to begin. And for those who feel too broken to begin again, I say this: you are not broken. You are tender from having lived. You are marked by your humanity, not diminished by it. Your scars are not disqualifiers. They are testimonies. They say I was hurt, and I am still here. I was lost, and I kept walking. I was afraid and I did it anyway. You are not defined by the worst thing that happened to you, nor by the worst thing you've done. You are defined by your becoming. By the way you keep returning to the fire within you, again and again, until one day it is a blaze that cannot be ignored. And let me speak too, to those who think they've already missed their chance, to those who believe it is too late. Let me remind you, time is not your enemy. Regret is, shame is, delay is, but time is a neutral offering. It will mold itself around your intention, bend itself toward your devotion. You may be late in the eyes of others, but you are right on time for your own becoming. What does it matter if someone else got there first? You are not them. Your journey is yours. Your pace is sacred. Your rhythm is true. You are not behind. You are beginning. And to those who have already begun, who are walking their path, uncertain but faithful, this message is for you too. Let this be your encouragement. Let it be your witness. Let it be your reminder that it is worth it, that you are not crazy to want more, that you are not selfish for choosing alignment, that you are not alone. You are part of a lineage of brave souls who decided not to live on autopilot, who chose consciousness over comfort, who decided to write their own stories, even when the ink ran dry. So whether you are just beginning again, or beginning to believe, know this: July 22nd is not an end. It is a beginning disguised as a deadline. It is an invitation wrapped in urgency. It is not about fear, it is about focus. It is not about pressure, it is about power. You have the power to shape your life, to shift your course, to stand tall in the face of your own resistance and say, I will not go quietly. I will not leave my potential unlived. I will not betray the version of me that still believes in wonder. So my friends, may you take these words and make them your own. May you look in the mirror and speak to yourself like someone worth saving, worth loving, worth betting on. May you clear the clutter from your calendar and your conscience, and make space for what truly matters. May you write the email, make the call, sign the lease, quit the thing, start the thing, say the truth, forgive the wound, rest, rise, reclaim. Whatever it is, do it now, while there is still time, while the light is still slanting just so across the page, while the story is still being written, and your chapter has not yet closed. Congratulations, If this message reaches you before July 22nd, you are exactly where you need to be to become who you were meant to be. All you have to do now is begin. And what you may ask, does it mean to begin? It does not always mean grand gestures or dramatic shifts. Sometimes beginning looks like turning toward yourself in the quiet of the morning, acknowledging the ache you've been ignoring. Sometimes it is picking up the pen you haven't touched in years, dusting off the idea you once shelved because life got too heavy. Sometimes it's whispering yes into the stillness before the world has given you permission. We are taught to wait for confirmation, for signs, for certainty, for the nod of approval from someone else's mouth. But the truth is, all that waits for you is already within you. The instinct that stirs when you read these words, the knowing that trembles in your chest when you consider what might be possible, that is your permission, that is your invitation. The time to hesitate is gone. If this message reaches you before July 22nd, then it is time to make a vow to yourself, not one that is fragile and paper thin, but one that is carved into your days with steady intention. A vow to honor the voice inside you that has been too long neglected. A vow to stop betraying your joy to please others, to stop offering your spirit as a sacrifice to routines that do not nourish you. You are not a machine. You are not a transaction. You are not here to meet someone else's metric of success. You are here to live, to create, to contribute in ways that only you can. And the first step to doing that is to stop living a version of your life that makes you invisible to yourself. Do you remember the last time you felt fully alive? The last time your blood hummed with purpose, when you felt the wind as if it were calling your name? That feeling was not a fluke. It was not a fleeting anomaly. It was a glimpse of what life could be if you dared to align your actions with your essence. It was the soul's way of saying, this, more of this. But too often we turn away. We silence the longing with distractions. We anesthetize the ache with busyness, with scrolling, with the armor of apathy. And the world, fast, loud, and unrelenting, makes it easy to forget what it means to truly feel. But feeling is not a weakness. It is the evidence of your humanity. It is the raw material of all transformation. And if this message has reached you, you still have time to return to that aliveness, to say with every breath, I am not done. Let me remind you, the world does not benefit from your silence. It does not grow stronger from your self-erasure. It does not become more just, more kind, more vibrant when you hide your light for fear of offending someone else's comfort. The world needs your clarity, your authenticity, your art, your ideas, your courage to stand up and speak truth into systems that have long profited from your silence. Because it is not enough to dream in private. The time is now to act in public. The time is now to risk being seen, to allow yourself to be known, in all your complexity, all your contradiction, all your magnificence. There will be resistance. Do not be fooled. There is always resistance to awakening, because comfort prefers company. And when you choose to rise, when you begin to shift your life into alignment, it may unsettle the people who loved your quiet compliance. Some will call you selfish. Some will not understand. But hear me now. Your life is not an apology. You do not owe the world your subservience. You owe it your full presence. And there is a difference. To be present is to be responsible, yes, but it is also to be alive to possibility, to be awake to injustice, to be fiercely protective of what makes your spirit sing. That is the kind of presence we need. That is the kind of power we must reclaim. So as July 22nd approaches, do not see it as a closing door. See it as a mirror that asks, not who have you been, but who are you becoming? And what will it take to become her? To become him? To become them? The fullest, boldest, truest version of yourself. Maybe it will take letting go of the narrative that says you are too much. Maybe it will take daring to be more than the role you were assigned. Maybe it will take forgiving yourself for not knowing better, and then choosing to do better now. Whatever it requires, know that you have it. You are not lacking. You are simply in the waiting room of your own evolution. But now the door is opening. Will you walk through it? I do not ask this question lightly. I know that to begin is to risk. It is to open yourself to failure, to disappointment, to judgment. But to not begin, that is to guarantee all three in another form. That is to live in the dull ache of regret, the slow erosion of possibility. Better to fall forward than to wither in stillness. Better to be bruised by hope than numb in resignation. This world, harsh as it can be, still contains beauty beyond measure, still offers moments that take your breath away, still contains hands to hold, songs to sing, causes to fight for, and lives to touch. And you are a part of that. You are not an onlooker, you are an agent, a co-creator, a vital force in the tapestry of this moment. Let us not waste this time. Let us not treat this window as a suggestion, but as a divine appointment. And let us not walk into it half-heartedly. Let us run, barefoot and unashamed, into the life that is calling us. Let us carry one another when the weight becomes too heavy. Let us speak the words that scare us. Let us make room for grief and joy, and everything in between. Because becoming is not a linear path. It is a dance, sometimes chaotic, often clumsy, but always sacred, and it is yours to do. There is a truth that lives in your bones, older than any doubt you carry. It knows what you were meant to do, it remembers what you came here to be, and it has been whispering to you, through your longing, through your restlessness, through the deep knowing that this life, beautiful and bruised as it is, has more in store for you. So listen, not just with your ears but with your body, with your spirit, with the part of you that still believes in miracles, because they are not always loud. Sometimes miracles arrive dressed as choices. Sometimes they arrive as the simple decision to try again, to begin again, to trust again. And when you do, when you step into that possibility with trembling legs and an open heart, you will not be alone. You will find others there. People who have chosen to wake up, to break cycles, to build bridges, to create beauty from pain. You will find a community of the willing, those who refuse to be hardened by this world, who refuse to bow to cynicism, who choose hope not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. And in that community, your courage will multiply. Your vision will sharpen, your voice will rise. So let this message, these words stitched together with care and conviction, be your offering and your guide. Read them not as a lecture, but as a hand extended across time and space. Read them as a mirror reflecting back your own strength. Because if it has reached you before July 22nd, then it has arrived exactly when it was meant to. And if you are willing, truly willing, to listen, it will carry you to the threshold of your next becoming. You were not meant to live forever in preparation. There is a time for planning, for pondering, for practicing, and then there is a time for leaping. That time is now. Let your life be the evidence that you dared. Let your story be the one that reminds others what is possible, not because it was easy, but because it was yours. Fiercely, fully, freely, yours. Congratulations, if this message reaches you before July 22nd, you have not missed the moment. You are the moment. Now go become it. And what is a moment, really, if not a convergence of choice and courage, a breath held long enough to become a turning? A moment is not just a space in time, it is a threshold between who you have been and who you are willing to become. And when the veil lifts, even briefly, when you see beyond the blur of obligation and habit, you must decide whether to step through it or turn away. Most people turn away, not because they lack desire, but because they fear the cost. They measure the weight of their dreams against the stability of what they've built, even if what they've built no longer feeds them. They talk themselves out of what they need by naming what they fear, and so they stay quiet, dutiful, safe. But safety is not always salvation. Comfort is not always peace. And surviving is not the same as living. So if this message reaches you before July 22nd, it is not by chance. It is because the door is still open. The call is still sounding. It is because you are being invited, perhaps for the final time in this season, to choose transformation over tradition, to choose soul over schedule, to ask yourself, not what must I do to be accepted, but what must I do to be free? Because freedom is not found in escape. It is found in alignment. It is not bought with rebellion. It is cultivated through honesty, through responsibility, through relentless integrity. And that kind of freedom is not flashy. It does not glitter. It does not shout. But it nourishes. It heals. It sustains. We are living in a world that profits from our disconnection, from each other, from nature, from our inner wisdom. So to begin again, to choose to live intentionally and awake, is a radical act. It is an act of defiance against numbness, an act of love against despair. It is saying, I will not live this life asleep. I will not go through the motions and call it a legacy. I will not offer up my days to the gods of productivity and empty validation. I will not live only for the weekend, or for retirement, or for someone else's version of success. I will live for presence, for purpose, for the possibility of beauty, even in brokenness. But let us speak plainly too. The journey to wholeness is not paved in gold. It is paved in dust and in doubt, in the sweat of discipline and the ache of unlearning. It is paved in awkward conversations and quiet losses, in the letting go of masks that once kept you safe, in the courage to say no to what drains you, even when it means disappointing people who once held your loyalty. But to disappoint another, if it means being true to yourself, is not betrayal. It is maturity. And the soul, unlike the ego, does not thrive on applause. It thrives on peace, on alignment, on integrity that runs so deep it cannot be shaken by opinion. There is something sacred in honoring your own rhythm, in choosing to bloom in your own season, not the one dictated by the calendar of capitalism or the expectations of culture. There is no medal for blooming fast. There is only burnout, only bitterness, only the haunting of a life you didn't really choose. So choose differently, choose deliberately, choose with your whole chest. And if you falter, if you stumble, let that too be part of your becoming. You do not have to arrive perfect. You only have to keep showing up. And when July 22nd passes, when the date that once marked your threshold becomes part of your history, let it not be said that you stood still. Let it not be said that you were too afraid, too tired, too distracted to hear the call. Let it be said that you moved, that you tried, that you chose to participate in your own unfolding. Because transformation is not a single act. It is a posture, a devotion, a daily decision to live awake, to lead with your soul, to honor your life as the singular miracle that it is. And do not wait for others to understand. They may not. They may be too bound by their own fears to bless your flight. They may cling to the version of you that made them comfortable. But you are not here to be understood. You are here to be real, to be alive, to be whole. And those who are meant for your path will recognize your glow, not because you match their pace, but because you match their values, because you reflect the truth they too are trying to live. So if this message reaches you before July 22nd, let it mark a new covenant with yourself, one where you no longer barter your intuition for inclusion, one where you no longer confuse shrinking with humility, one where you stop asking the world for permission to be what you already are: worthy, ready, enough. Let it be the moment you stop pretending to be okay with what no longer serves you, the moment you stop calling your suffering just how life is, the moment you began to believe, not in fantasy, but in your own capacity to evolve. This world is not waiting for perfect people. It is waiting for present ones. People who can sit with discomfort without numbing. People who can admit their failures without collapsing into shame. People who can hold vision in one hand and responsibility in the other. People who can show up, not because it is easy, but because it is needed. And that includes you, especially you. the one who doubts, the one who overthinks, the one who wonders if it's too late. It is not. Not if you begin now, not if you say yes before the door closes. Because doors do close, and seasons do shift, and what feels hard but possible today may feel impossible a month from now. Not because you won't still be worthy, but because you'll have hardened, you'll have rationalized your way back into hiding, and the voice that once called you will have quieted beneath layers of busyness and noise. That is what time does. It doesn't steal your chance. It just softens your urgency until you forget you had one. So let this moment be the anchor. Let it be the echo that keeps calling you back to what you know is true. And if this message has stirred something in you, then do not let it sit idle. Do something with it. Let it ripple. Let it disturb the waters you've kept still for too long. Let it prompt a conversation, or a prayer, or a pause. Let it remind you that nothing is more sacred than living in truth. Not reputation, not convenience, not comfort. And if you forget, because you will, come back to these words. Come back to this moment. Come back to yourself. Because you are not lost. You are not behind. You are simply on the path of remembering. Congratulations, If this message reaches you before July 22nd, you are still in the hour of choosing. You are still in the sacred stretch of what could be. You still have time to become. So gather your courage, gather your clarity, and begin, not with noise, not with spectacle, but with sincerity. Begin where you are. Begin now, and do not stop. Not until your life begins to resemble the truth you were always meant to live. You see, the thing about time is that it's not always generous. It moves whether we're ready or not, whether we're paying attention or not. It doesn't beg for acknowledgement, it simply unfolds. But every once in a while, if we are listening, if we are soft enough to feel what the surface of the world often hides, time will give us a window, a small bright sliver of a chance to choose with intention. That is what this moment is. Not a command, not a demand, but a sacred invitation. To rise, to look around at the life you've made, and ask, honestly and tenderly, is this mine? And if the answer in some corner of your heart is no, then this is your sign to change it. Not all at once, not in some violent disruption of your world, but deliberately, bravely, truthfully. There is power in small revolutions. Do not underestimate what begins with a whisper. Many of the greatest transformations began quietly, in kitchens, in notebooks, in late-night prayers, or early morning walks. They began in tears that wouldn't stop, in laughter that felt like freedom, in the sudden realization that life could be more than survival. You don't need a stage to start. You don't need an audience. You only need your own willingness to stop pretending that everything is fine when it isn't. You only need one clear, sacred yes. And if that yes is inside you, trembling, hesitant, but honest, then you have everything you need. Let this be a moment of reckoning, not in the sense of punishment, but in the sense of truth-telling. What have you accepted that you no longer want to carry? What have you said yes to that now feels like a burden? What part of you is asking to be seen, to be heard, to be honored? This isn't about indulgence, it's about integrity. It's about the kind of alignment that makes your insides match your outsides. The kind of honesty that makes you proud of how you move through the world. Because how you live is not just about you, it becomes part of the fabric of everyone you touch. The way you love, the way you lead, the way you show up when it's hard, these things ripple, they echo. And if you've been waiting for the right moment, let me tell you, the right moment is shaped, not found. It's created by decision, not luck. Waiting for the stars to align is a way of postponing your own becoming. Do not wait to feel ready. Readiness is a myth. You begin, and in the beginning, you become. It is the beginning that makes you strong. It is the beginning that shapes your backbone, your resilience, your resolve. And it is in that beginning where you learn the most about who you are, when you're no longer performing, no longer appeasing, no longer contorting yourself to fit into a life that was never built for the fullness of your truth. You'll outgrow conversations, communities, roles that once felt essential. That is not arrogance. That is growth. That is life refusing to let you stagnate. You may grieve those shifts,